And welcome back to the finals of the First Strike North America Closed Qualifiers, brought to you by Nerd Street Gamers. I'm joined by Bok and Vansili, and we're already one map down in this best of five between 100 Thieves and Envy. We had some reservations, throughout this week, how teams were going to perform in a final where only seeding and I guess pride was on the line. But oh boy, Envy are taking this seriously. They came to play. They want to win this. Vansili, what did you make of that victory from Envy? And not only the victory itself, but the fashion in which they took down 100 Thieves.
Exactly. I think if we wanted to see Envy win, they definitely proved that in dominant fashion, at least if you're an Envy fan and you're happy to see such a one-sided affair. But they haven't changed pretty much the type of pressure that they play from the last few matches that we watched them on different maps too. So going for those double peaks towards mid side, going for the peaks towards hookah, when they're on the defender side too. I mean, I've been harping about this throughout the whole week in terms of how Envy does not really want to play turtle into the site. They're okay with pushing forward. They're okay with fighting for that map control early on any of these maps. And you saw that on the shower side. You saw that on short A. You saw the ops ringing towards long. And even when I called the pistol, right? They had Sova Recon Arrow versus Sova Recon Arrow. So they really brought the fight to the 100 Thieves on the defensive side. And even I think on the attacker side, you saw how explosive that was when they got in that pistol into the B side. So relentless. And Envy definitely came out to play.
Yeah, I think the number one word I would use to describe the way that Envy just played was confidence. That was some of the most confident play I've ever seen. Just understanding, like, we're just going to win these fights. Even if it's not true every time. That's just the thought process that goes into it. So playing super aggressive, pushing into showers on the defensive side, and taking the battle straight to a player like Nitro, who's waiting on the other side. And he's been doing that multiple rounds in a row. You know that Nitro is playing showers as Omen. And they still did it. And it still worked out. They consistently found themselves in 5-on-3s because of that early aggression. And a lot of times what I didn't love from 100 Thieves was Asuna was across the map. It wasn't like he was lurking necessarily, but it felt like there was maybe a disconnect. Like you'd see 100 Thieves stacked up towards A, but he's going for that standard boombot bank off the wall, try and gain hookah control. And two players die early, and all of a sudden you're in a 5-on-3, and only two players are actually on A. The third player is across the map, and then you start seeing aggression there because they have that advantage, and he gets caught trying to run away. That happened a couple of times, and it was a bit disappointing for 100 Thieves. It felt like Envy completely controlled the pace of that game.
Yeah, and sorry, just to add on to that too, I think the reasoning also when 100 Thieves are trying to do that type of strat was very similar to, for example, when Cloud9 plays on Ascent, where they have Relics always going on his own, all towards the left side of the map on the attack, so he could control the the B side of Ascent. So very similar to Asuna, where he wants to try to solo maybe towards hookah. They're feeling confident that, again, we're counting on Dicey and on Asuna to be able to get those entries, or at least to be able to add pressure against Envy, so that whenever he's actually going into that hookah area, he could actually keep FNS, for example, or two more players that are stacked towards that B side, anchored in that area, exactly so that the other players that are moving inside the site could work towards A. And it sort of worked. I think the thing that really foiled their plans was just the amount of first bloods probably that somebody like Caboose or Food got into the round for Envy, that just didn't allow 100 Thieves to really get that type of map pressure, that they really wanted to when they wanted to execute into the sites. And even when rounds where 100 Thieves are trying to fight back and they're being aggressive themselves towards, for example, the A side, Envy stopped, like, for that specific round. I can't remember which one exactly, but they were going to push towards short A with a shorter buy, and they really wanted to focus on Mame, who usually plays towards the lamps, or he was off in that area, as they were so focused on trying to take him down. FNS was just around the corner at the cubby at short A, and he got 2 kills of his own, or at least 1 kill of his own, and just slowed things down to allow Envy to rotate back. So they had the full pace and control of that map, I think, and I believe, rather.
I mean, if we take a look at the stats, I think it is a story. It tells itself. 100 Thieves didn't really even get time to get into the game. I think that does matter. Some teams do need a bit of time to take it slow and then sort of come back. That's why, in a best of 5, that's why it's so exciting, because an early lead doesn't guarantee you that win automatically. But, Bok, if you're 100 Thieves right now and you've just lost 13-2 on your own map pick, how worried would you be?
I mean, ultimately, again, it's a best of 5, right? So there's still plenty of maps to be played. I'd be a little bit concerned about going to Split. Split is a map that Envy has been very good on for a long time. It's long been considered their playground. So I guess in that respect, I'd be concerned. But at the same point in time, even if you go down 2-0, you've still got one more chance. So I wouldn't be too worried right now if you're 100 Thieves. I still think there's plenty of opportunities for them.
Yeah, I echo that for sure.
Well, of course, they don't play Split that often. So I would say that it's probably kind of likely that we might get a 2-0 at this point. But like you said, Bok, it doesn't matter too much right now in this best of 5. But right now, it's a time for our second map. Good luck. Have fun, guys. I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much, Yinsu. So, Bok, it's time for this matchup here for Split. So far in this series in the grand finals of the Nerd Street Gamers Closed Qualifier, it is going to be Envy taking the upper hand 1-0. Split, their playground, a map rather, that they've been strong on ever since they had Aegis and Calypso in that roster too, where Calypso, even as an operator, as an Omen, was able to do quite well for the roster. But now again, they've added firepower with these two players into the roster in terms of crashes and food. We'll see if they could continue their dominance versus 100 Thieves. As we said before in the pregame, we didn't see them get tested a lot, so we'll see what they're going to try to do. And it starts off with that double push from the Young Guns, but it's still going to be stopped by a passive play from 100 Thieves for the 100 Thieves at the A main.
Dicey waiting around the corner. There's the Frenzy to take down 2. That's a fast 1-2 punch coming in from the Jet for 100 Thieves. Caboose pushed up on ramp right now, but it's Envy who's at a disadvantage, and a strong start here from 100 Thieves. The Steel picks off food as well at the bottom of ropes. Nice turnaround from what we saw in the previous map, as it now comes down to 1-1 alone, and that's going to be a great way to kick things off. A nice way to forget that first map. 100 Thieves go huge in the pistol and pick up that 1-0 start. Dicey finding 3, Steel finding the other 2. We mentioned it, Steel, he was the best performer on 100 Thieves, even though the numbers weren't fantastic for anyone. It looks like we'll see a continuation of that here on map number 2.
And you see the lineup, too, that they have for 100 Thieves and Envy. On a map like in North America, we don't really use a Sova. They actually switch both of those Sova players for a Breach, which definitely helped for 100 Thieves on that previous round with the fault line that got the Days of Few that allows Dicey and Steel to get those kills. But those 2 first kills that came in from Dicey to retaliate after losing Asuna so early in the round was definitely lucky, because it was through the smoke, but you're happy to get those. That helps to build that momentum. But Envy, they're forcing through this one, and they're looking to take the round back in their hands. So first one to fall, as they're trying to pressure down towards this mid, as 100 Thieves, they said, look, Envy, you kept pressuring us on that previous round or the previous map. We want to do the same thing to you on our defender side here. And Mame, a share to the face, to the dome of Steel, as Steel falls, and they take a 2-man advantage.
Dicey moving into position. Will spot the first one at the bottom of ropes. Gets another as well with the SMG. Ooh, switches to the pocket SMG. It's a Frenzy. Caboose sitting at the bottom, gets some support from his teammate, but they're waiting on the other side currently. Nitro taking a duel with Crashies. Will win that battle. It's somehow awkwardly fallen into a 2-on-2. You've got Breach and Omen left for 100 Thieves. The spike going to be planted here. Envy's in a great position. Oh my gosh. Close. I was concerned. Watching Food sneak into that corner, thought maybe he'd be able to get into a better position to win that battle. But now it comes down to Caboose hiding inside the dark cover. The spike not exactly planted perfectly for him, but there is at least a bit of an angle there. And you can see the pings coming out from the squad as they try to offer some backup. First shot needed to be on the money, and it wasn't where it needed to go. So it will be 2 rounds in a row for 100 Thieves, but a promising second round for Envy.
Oh, yeah.
Spike plant, 3 kills, that's not too shabby.
And the thing is, you saw it from that Sheriff. The first one had to really connect on that 2 versus 1, but he even had a chance for a second and a third kill. And then it would have been a different story, of course, on that 1 versus 1. But 100 Thieves did definitely well in order to stop the bleeding on that previous round. But you saw there was a lot of flank after flanks there, lots of control towards that mid side. And you got to thank the guys on 100 Thieves' side, where they actually went back from the A heavens down to the rope that allowed Dicey to just get too early into the trades, into the push towards that B side. But it still opened up the site though on the B. They forced the rotation out from Nitro from the B side over to A, which allowed them to get a spike plan, which allows them to build the economy into this round. So it's going to be another gun round or a force buy coming in for Envy. Well, you do have a couple of Phantom Inspector and still a surprise attack from Food and make that a Sheriff in the face of Steel again, unfortunately, but Nitro's in the sight. He drops 2 of his own. He's low on HP. Close range is going to be Mummy turning around the corner at the pillar, and that's one player to fall. Arsenal on his own, making it a 2 versus 1, upgrades to a Phantom, and as the spike has just been freshly planted, he still has a chance, to press this forward.
Asuna dropping to the bottom of ropes. There's 2 players remaining here on the other side for Envy. Asuna didn't really get his foot in the door in that last map, but has an opportunity to start that here. As Asuna slowly creeps out. There's one towards spawn. The Jiggle Peek comes through. The dink shot's in. Nice shot from Asuna, though. That eliminates Mame. There's the paint shells coming in, but Food is quick with the peek. And the swap to the rifle at the end as well. Envy will pick up the first full buy round. Got a little sketchy there. There was a possibility for Asuna. Let's take a look at the money, too, because it shouldn't be good here for 100 Thieves because of the way they won that previous round. The money is kind of scattered around. They're going to scrape together a buy, but it's not going to be what you would want to see after winning the first 2 rounds and only losing 1.
Yeah, and the thing is, it wasn't really a full gun round for Envy either, right? We had a Sheriff, we had a Stinger, and it was the Stinger and the Sheriff that were able to open it up there for Envy. They upgraded one weapon, of course, because it came to a 1 versus 1. That allows to build the economy back for Envy, but overall, that definitely puts the 100 Thieves in a pickle in terms of their economy into this round. So the tides have turned into this first half early, but it's still going to be Nitro that gets 2 of his own. He wants to turn this back for the 100 Thieves, and that's 2 to fall, but no spike. It's actually still hiding behind a dark cover, and he's looking for his teammates. He's got the camera out. That's FNS looking back and forth, and they have to count on 2 players on mid to try to open it up. But it's still a 2-man crossfire towards that heaven side, and Nitro even eliminates the spike carrier as they're slowly trying to pinch in. So Food on his own, looking for another clutch here. He gets the first one onto Steel, back to a 2 versus 1. There's an alarm bot into ropes. He doesn't know that yet, but that's going to give a lot of information, a lot of help for the 100 Thieves, should they know that he's coming through that side. But the spike is down, and they're using the smarter play to actually stick together and just watch that spike on the A main.
Food climbing up the ropes. Breach getting the free shots into his back. Hiko was just holding and waiting for him. We talked about it. We said that Envy was a very strong split team. Now, to be fair, it's still early on. But 100 Thieves have stepped up in the first couple of rounds and have a potential to build up a mountain of rounds to fall back on. The buy coming in from Envy, again, is not going to be stellar. So we're going to see Envy coming to the table with a rifle, SMG, and a couple of pistols. This is bizarre. There's a little bit of cash left over. I'd assume we're going to see some SMGs purchased. We've already seen one for Crashies. Mummy has the ult, so the Blade Storm will be popped by the Jet. And there it is. But this round, for Envy, they're spending a little bit more than maybe one would expect, given the way that the scoreboard's been shaping up, trying to prevent 100 Thieves' money from sort of snowballing out of control.
Ooh. Mame falling back, and they actually use FNS's cameras as well to see if they're going to push out towards that ramp. They did. He came back, got the first kill. Asuna trying to even out the tally. He gets 2 of his own with the Spectre, and he avenges his teammate and puts it back in advantage of the 100 Thieves. And Asuna is moving forward with the Showstopper, looking for his opponents inside the sewers, but does not connect. The paint shell's coming down, forcing him out, but he's falling back. Caboose is now running forward, and he's going to catch him off guard. A backstab of his own. A 3 versus 3 as Food has made it inside the site to get a kill, but Hiko immediately trades it back. It's a 2 versus 2. As they have their own duels across the map on the A side with the spike being planted. That's Hiko now on his own. At 22 HP, all he has left is a fault line and also the angle. The wall bang onto Food. The information given away as he trips over the trap wire. As Envy, with the Showstopper still available, paint shells in the air. And Hiko, oh my god, he's playing it so well here for this 1 versus 1. Caboose is just playing that time. He's the one that's playing it super well. He goes for the Jiggle Peek from the blast pack, and he's just counting it down, and he still manages to get the kill onto Hiko on the 1 versus 1. So the Clutch Master gets clutched himself by Caboose, who remains and maintains his fire position from the first map.
That's so unfortunate. He didn't get the spike to halfway. It was so incredibly close. You saw that tap back on the spike, but Hiko realized in that moment that he didn't get it to halfway. At that point, it didn't really even matter. I don't think he had enough time to win that fight and then stick the spike. It would have been very, very close, razor-thin margin. So Envy, they scrape together a buy and it works. We'll see what they're able to do. Yikes. Nice shot coming out from Mummy to kick things off as Dicey goes aggressive into B main, and it's an early player advantage. Now, on the side of Envy, you've got multiple ults as well. What likely won't be necessary to use them here. You've got Showstopper, Rolling Thunder, and Neural Theft. But 400 Thieves, they're not really bringing a whole lot of hardware to the round. Mostly pistols, maybe an SMG in the mix as well. They've got Rolling Thunder as well. A bulk of the players currently stacked up towards B. Rare miss there for Mummy as Steel peeked his head out from A and nearly got spotted. Quick dink coming out from Nitro, a repeat coming out from Hiko looking for a trade and a follow-up. There's a little bit of damage, but can't quite find it, and now it's fallen all onto Steel, who was over originally on the A site, now dropping down into the ropes, paranoid out of position, and he's got players on all sides.
Spike will also be planted, so Steel pretty much at this point as he's being spammed. Okay, who connects with one shot, you know it's still going to be Grim here. He only has a Sheriff on a 3 versus 1, so really the only thing he could do is maybe hopefully upgrade to a weapon if he can get a kill early, or maybe towards the end of the round, as they're going to try to still chase after him, it seems, from the point of view of Envy, which is quite interesting because they know he's on an eco. He already has the lockdown. So the only thing they could really do is add more credits, I guess, from these kills from the Sheriff, should they not win these fights versus Steel. But in the end, you saw it from the 100 Thieves point of view on that eco, that they had a nice stack towards the male. And just one player that gets spotted, and he still gets the kill. And that's Caboose that got the kill onto male. He decides to fall back into the rope area, and they chase after him. And as they chase after him, you have to commend Envy on how they're setting things up to even watch each other's backs. Because as everybody's chasing for the first and second kill inside ropes, you still had, I'm pretty sure it was Crashies toward the bottom of the mid side. Nobody was focused on him. It was open season for Envy to hold that ground and to hold their ground on the mid side and even make this 3-3. We will have a gun round coming in for the 100 Thieves. Steel could definitely go with a Phantom or a Vandal into this round here, but they will not have an Operator still on the defender side. And that's a sorry, Buck. We talked about like the head-to-head Dicey versus Mummy. Mummy's been using his Operator on the attacker side, but they haven't had a chance to give it to Dicey.
I love this aggressive push coming in from 100 Thieves. Now, it didn't really work out so well for them, as Food somehow got the best of 100 Thieves, despite the fact that he was dazed from Rolling Thunder. But I like the approach. Envy. Nice start to the round. 3 rounds on the board already on their attacking side of Split. While this performance is better from 100 Thieves than what we saw on map number 1, it's still not exactly stellar. We'll see if they can try to turn things around here. Again, Envy still has those ults to fall back on. Rolling Thunder, Showstopper, Neural Theft, all available. And you've also got Mummy, who's gone to the Operator, which at times can feel like an ult in and of itself. So powerful with that scoped rifle. Hiko throws down another flashpoint, decides to back off. It's the right call, as Envy has gathered up control of Mailroom. They're going to be splitting on to B. Only one player coming through from B main. That will be Omen. That's Food.
30 seconds left.
Hiko's got to be careful as they're coming around the corner. Then Aid lands right in his lap. That's the first kill coming through. Nitro on the site. Here's the blastback being popped. 23 seconds left as they start to gather up control of the site. And Steel is all the way across the map. The round is lost, and Steel knows it. So no sense going for it. No sense really wasting anything. It'll be a round for Envy as they take control of the scoreboard here in round number 7.
I would have liked to see a little bit of readjustment from Steel with the situation that they were in and towards that mid-round, because as you already have a lot of utilities from Killjoy towards that A side with the mollies on the ground, the turret, and even an alarm bot, if anybody's trying to walk up towards the A ramp, they could have that alarm and then play the rotate and say, look, there might be a guy towards A heaven or even pushing towards ropes, and they work back as a team where they would have a 4-on-3 situation on a retake. But even if Steel even rotated to the point where he was able to stack with his teammates towards B, it would have given it an advantage of a 3-man hold, at least 400 Thieves inside that site. On top of that, being able to use a lockdown to run the clock down in their favor. But as he stays towards that corner, he really wanted to try to play the anchored site, and Envy just took advantage of the B side right after with a nice double peek to take down Hiko, leaving Nitro kind of stranded on 2 players pushing on each side of that site on B, and there's nothing he could really do at that point. So Envy, as we were mentioning a few rounds ago here, Bach, that Envy has been a good team and has been very dominant on a map like Split. It didn't look like that at the beginning when, you know, you had a very good convincing round on the pistol for the 100 Thieves, but as the money comes back and as the money looks right for the team, you're starting to see how they take control of 100 Thieves' pressure, and they're also able to pressure back and still always win these gunfights at the beginning of the round.
Mame just holding currently with an AWP. Steel's been alone A site for most of this first half thus far. They haven't really tried to pressure him too much. So much utility down. You've got the alarm bot up in heaven. 2 nano swarms down, and the turret as well. Steel just holding down from elbow, currently watching heaven. It's a split setup right now from 100 Thieves. You've got pressure on B. You've got 2 players over there with Spike as well. And then you've got 3 players currently grouping up over towards ramp. And that'll be Crashies popping his ult, moving in towards heaven. Caboose gonna just send a rocket straight to the face of Steel. Look at the bait and switch that's coming in from Envy currently. This is masterfully played. They've made them believe that this is going to be an A hit, when in reality the spike is over on B. Sure, kills are piling up for 100 Thieves, but surprise, the spike's all the way across the map, and Mummy's in a position where he can get out of dodge. And now they've pushed in through to spawn. Food's able to catch off Nitro, and the plan starts to work out for them. 3-on-3, the number is still not an advantage for Envy, but they've got time on their side if they've already managed to exhaust some of that clock. Hiko somehow catches Food off guard. The flash comes through, and he can't get around the quarter in time with low HP picked off by the Ghost. Mummy with a quick shot coming out from the operator, but it's going to fall onto him. The Blade Storm gets popped. Mummy, though, missing, and now it's down to a 1-on-1. It's Op versus Breach. The stun from the Breach, the fault line not working out. Getting around the corner is Mummy, and that's it. The round, like you said, it's over. Mummy's gonna die here, as is Hiko, but it's okay. Envy's won the round. A little bit scary there, but I like the approach from Envy.
You now see a potential of good retakes for 100 Thieves based on that, because although they sold it perfectly for Envy side, you still made it a 0 versus 0 at the end of the round. Yes, the round got into the favor of Envy, but 100 Thieves still were managed to get 5 kills rather with only pistols. They were on an eco, and the only one that had a weapon was Steel, which is why you had him playing solo towards the elbow side just in case that he could maybe anchor it out, and they go for a stack towards B, a gamble that eventually they might have an initial push from Envy in that area, but they gambled wrong, and it was just a nice way for Envy as well, the way that they took the site. A showstopper to a rolling thunder, but also adding a flashpoint to really blind Steel and not give him a chance to do anything. But now we finally see the first Op versus Op battle. Dicey takes the upper hand versus Mummy into this half, and they have an early 1-man advantage for the 100 Thieves, where maybe finally things could maybe turn around as they finally have a full gun round, rather, and the weaponry that they need and that they wanted for the 100 Thieves side.
Dicey sitting in position with the op, but there's FNS picking off Asuna, who tried to fly in with the showstopper. Now they have to fall back just a bit and try and regroup. Envy found an opener, but it quickly fell apart for them, and it's down to just 2. It's the Cypher and Breach, FNS and Crashies. They have spike control at the very least, but Steel is waiting at the top side of ropes.
Oh no.
Great damage dealt, but somehow not able to finish off either target. Does the turret find a kill? We'll find out in just a second. No, not going to be. Hiko is there to make sure that's not a possibility, but there was a very serious possibility that turret found 2 kills. If they made it through the window, both players were super low on HP, and I think it was like 12 and 7. Yeah. So that turret could have made quick work for them, and I think that would have been a first, a double kill for a turret. I don't think that's ever happened.
And so far, I think I've seen 2 situations, right? One where Steel was looking down towards the ropes, and then the other one, I think, was Dicey looking down towards the ropes when they were on the the beginning of the half as well. The fact that they're actually always pre-firing before they spot their opponents because they want to take the upper hand. They know that they can control the spray transfer in order to try to get these kills. But unfortunately, he shot a little bit too soon and couldn't control the recoil, because sometimes you do have an RNG into the sprays going through with the Phantoms or any type of rifles right now. And Envy took the upper hand out of that. So they did good at least to get that kill. But as you said, Buck, he did enough damage so that no matter how far they were able to make it out for Envy, it was going to be stopped or by Hiko or by the turret. So a very tough round for Envy to win, but it started off with them playing individually, actually trying to get the body peeks into that mid main that allowed their 100 Thieves to get those picks. But now Nitro is looking to put a dark cover towards the A main. You did have a cyber cage and a camera, so they know where one offer is at, and it's going to be Nitro that connects onto Mummy, who is trying to dash across into the A ramp. And now from the shadows and Steel working from the air at the A heaven is also able to hold the aggressive push coming in from Envy. The Crashies have made it his way inside the site, gets the first kill. A nice fake plant, actually. He looks for the angle, but unfortunately on the timing, looks back. And Asuna takes the upper hand. You only have one more to go. Food with 11 HP. I like it. I mean, with a 3 versus 1, you're counting your positive moments, and you hope to get an orb into your favor before you die. And he tried to pick that up, but unfortunately went for the peak there for 100 Thieves, and it's going to be tied 5-5. Oh, yeah.
Turret out. Blinding.
Yeah, they are looking for this right now, so they could just go for a buy at least towards the last round, and it's dashing up towards the heavens. But Dicey and Steel hold it with a Nanoswarm and the Operator. As another gets dropped, it's a 5-on-2 situation as they're trying to look up with the last two. Crashies, one of the players that unfortunately couldn't upgrade. Asuna looking to move forward, checks the 50, takes him down, and it's all up to Food.
Food waiting for Asuna, who flies in and gets obliterated by the Stinger. Food maybe a little bit too aggressive to find that final kill on the round. Or not Food, Asuna, excuse me. Food now the last one alive. Scooped up a Phantom. Could do a little bit more damage. The question will be, what can 100 Thieves do when we move into that second half and we see them on attack? Food sneaking up. Can't quite get the angle right. Steel is holding it perfectly, patient as ever. 6 rounds now in favor of 100 Thieves. 1 up over Envy. And we move into the final round of the first half. We'll take a look at the scoreboard yet again. It will be a full buy from both teams, but one that includes a dual op presence for 100 Thieves. We've seen that actually before. But did they change their mind? It looks like that's going to be the case. Nitro was on the op, but it looks like going back down to a rifle potentially.
Well, here's the thing, though, Buck.
Okay, he's gun juggling. Is
exactly.
He gun juggling?
It's the last round of the half. You can even go for a triple op setup if you want to, with Steel buying one as well, and then you just juggle back if you miss the shot. But it's just going to go for 2. And if, of course, like you said, if they miss a shot, they'll have a Phantom to work with.
Well, again, aggression from 100 Thieves down mid. They spot one early, but they don't actually deal any damage. Envy, in the meantime, has taken control of Heaven. 100 Thieves playing a little bit more passive in this scenario. Hiko is backed off. Nitro is watching the exit as well. They have an appreciation that this could be going on, but do they get away? No. Now Caboose is going to fly into position, and the flash was perfect. That leaves Nitro staring at the surface of the sun. Caboose is going to fly into sight. That puts a lot of pressure on the young fragger Asuna, who's currently up in Heaven, but the spike is going to be planted, and Asuna's got too many corners to clear. So it will be a 5-on-3 post plant, and Envy's in great positions for this.
Well, the showstopper is going to give a chance for Mummy to position himself, but it's immediately traded out. He got one, so he did his job. It's a 4-on-2 in favor of Envy, as you have Asuna that's still looking to retake this with Dicey. Dicey has his own operator, which would make it difficult for them to go for that retake. They still have paint shells to work with where they can clear this corner. There you go. He throws it into the area, and that maybe could flush somebody out, but it's a little bit... No, it connects right on the dot. Food 12, showstopper to come out, connects onto another one. He pulls himself up. It's a 1 versus 1 as Dashi Dicey, sorry, dashes in with the Frenzy, picking up the Vandal, and now it's all up to the time. Unfortunately, it's wasted. Crashies wins that one, and no matter what, the spike was going to go off, and Envy ties the first half 6-6.
Definitely better from 100 Thieves, but not as good as you would want to see, as Envy puts in some serious work on the attacking side. We'll take a look at the replay so you can see how things broke down in the first half. This was a near win for Asuna. Came down to that nade, but it didn't necessarily land where it needed to. Nitro continuing to add to his highlight reel moments with a nice little 3K. I mean, we're going to see rounds going back and forth, and that was the nature of the half. We're going to see highlights going back and forth. I feel like Steel and Nitro really stepped up. Asuna in that final round with the self-detonation came down to the clock, and it was well played by, I believe it was Crashies, it was, as Breach. Just 2 HP left, but it didn't matter at that point. Even if he found the kill, the round was over.
So as we continue to talk about the question mark of how 100 Thieves present themselves on a map like Split, we've seen how they play on the defender side, where Envy, still able to put 6 rounds on the attack, is still very good. Now we have to see how 100 Thieves are going to play their pistol, how the 100 Thieves are going to play their attack. And it starts with Dicey getting the first kill as he dashed over towards the A ramp, while the rest of them are pushing up towards ropes, and they're able to take down Food. That means that the A site is now open for business. The rotation is coming through from the last 3 players that actually stacked towards the B side. FNS is already on his own to start things off, and as he slows down finally, he's met up with his teammates where Nitro is forced to fall back. FNS still manages to get the frag, and they're looking to push back into the A site.
The pistol round right now, numbers advantage for 100 Thieves, but Envy's got site control. Steel with an execution onto Caboose, putting a bullet in the back of Envy's one player towards screen. Steel's now up in heaven, trying to do more. Steel with the jump shot, make it 3. Great work for 100 Thieves in the pistol to take the lead. They needed to kick things off in this second half with a pistol round win, and they do so, as they need to build up some rounds before Envy's got money to fall back on. And it works out nicely thanks to Steel's heroics. 11-7 for Steel, not top of the scoreboard, trailing behind both Hiko and Asuna. But we've seen a couple of rounds from Steel where he's come up big, and that one definitely stands out. The pistol round going the way of 100 Thieves.
Here. Shadows traveling.
Asuna currently moving up, as I believe Vansili had an issue with his mic. We'll get that fixed as quickly as we can. Nade's going to land inside mailroom. That's going to push Asuna back just a bit to dodge the paint shells. Another paint shell's coming out, but it's a little bit further. Nice flash to lead them in. The fault line comes in, but it's a little late. There is a kill there coming in for both sides, but it leaves Envy with the advantage of 4-on-3. This is a round that 100 Thieves really needed to win. They could not afford to fumble this one away and lose that lead to Envy, with them now on the defense. Crashy sending out some flashpoints. That helps FNS go for the peak. Nitro dive bombs the site, and it works out well as 100 Thieves take control of B, but quickly through that dark cover, Mummy picks off Nitro. And now it's a 1-on-2. Hiko's got to go back and scoop up the spike with just 15 seconds left. He's going to have to grab it and start moving towards the site quickly.
10 seconds
One has
left.
gone down the stairs and will potentially spam through this box as he goes for that dedicated spike plant. Yeah, there's the push through. There's not much that can be done. Mummy with great work, finding a 3K here and bringing the score to 7 apiece.
And as I was trying to mention before, sorry, with the mic issues there, where we saw this on the first half, where 100 Thieves were able to actually win pistol. And then when it came down to a round when it got really close and you still had a force buy coming in for Envy versus the weaponry that 100 Thieves have, which was on the 3rd round instead of the 2nd round, they were still able to turn it over for Envy side. And we saw the same thing. Despite 100 Thieves winning that pistol, we still had a force buy coming in for Envy on that 2nd round. And they expected that push coming in from Dicey at the A ramp where it worked on the pistol. with the Frenzy, but this time it was definitely, I think it was Food on that A ramp with the Spectre to stop him in his tracks and then just make things difficult from there on out for 100 Thieves to regain control of that map. At least they got a spike plant, but that's not enough here. It's still going to be 7-7, tied up in this second half, where 100 Thieves are trying to work back as a unit to take control of this B heaven. It started off with a flashpoint, but there's still going to be one to fall. Steel, though, goes to work on his own from the front of the garage, and he gets 2 kills into the B site and opens it up. This allows right now Dicey to push all the way forward, close range with the Frenzy, going head-to-head versus Food, looking for his revenge from that previous round. That smoke is about to dissipate, and he does not get the kill, but still manages to fall back. That allows Food to push forward, but still 400 Thieves to move inside the site and get the spike plant down.
Spike planted.
Food spamming through that swirling cloud. Dicey just runs straight in and takes the battle. Crashies is there with a quick trade. Mummy is moving in as well. The Killjoy ult has been popped and it's about to dissipate, and it does. Crashies has to back off for the time being. It's a 1-on-2. They've still got to deal with the Omen and Breach on site. Some fall damage for Crashies as he dives into the site, but nice flash coming out. Even with the alarm bot triggering, he's got a target straight to his left. Does he peek this? He actually gets around the corner in time. This is really well played from both sides. As Crashies taps the spike yet again, Nitro isn't falling for it. Does he have the time? Takes the peek, and at this point it's all too far gone. 100 Thieves managed to scoop up the round, and even the turret is trying to get involved in the action. Does the spike take him out? No. Nitro will fall thanks to the spike. But I got a little concerned that that turret was going to slow Crashies down and get him caught in that detonation radius. Back and forth the scoreboard goes early on in the second half as 100 Thieves refuses to give control to Envy.
Yeah, I was hanging out with Veli before we got on air before playing another Riot game, and then he was like, man, it's nice to see how Steel is so good with the Sheriff, and unfortunately we didn't see it in his point of view, but those 2 kills were definitely the deciding factor that allowed 100 Thieves to just gain control of that map, not only towards B, but positioning to catch rotations in the end for Envy. But you got to give it to Crashies. A 2 versus 1 where mechanically you drop on the ground and you shoot just to cover the sound step, and then the flashpoint that he threw actually blinded both of them, both players from 100 Thieves on a crossfire double peak. It could have been the round coming in for Crashies, but in the end, it was going to be the patience, using the timer on your end. And Mame, this time, though, is looking to even up the tally, trying to bring it back on their end as they have their own eco, but it doesn't pay off.
Crashies picking off Steel across the map as well. Advantage Envy currently, but the weapon advantage is there for 100 Thieves. Asuna will catch Caboose coming up at the top of the rope. Now Crashies is in the pressure position. He's in the hot seat on the site with a Bulldog. Around Pillar currently, it's all going to come down to whether or not Asuna tries to clear this all the way. Crashies picks off Nitro, and there's the flash coming through as well to make things a little bit harder, but Asuna, with that twitchy aim, able to flip back onto his target. But it'll all fall onto Asuna. 2 currently up in heaven, and they're just waiting for him at the top side of ropes. Back and forth, back and forth. It's a ping-pong battle currently as both teams trade round for round. And the money never really stabilizes for either one. So they just continue to spend what they can afford to spend and just force up until one of them eventually wins a solid round and puts their opponent on eco.
In that case, it was definitely Envy on that previous round. I apologize. I didn't see that they were actually going to be on a gun round on their end and then utilize the Blade Storm from Mame. So that's one of the ways you can control the economy on your end, despite having low economy for some of the players. Sometimes a Blade Storm is going to be enough as well to count it as a rifle, especially as you're wielding daggers in the hands of players like Mame and now such as Dicey, who's looking to return the favor into this round. Every time we saw him die, he was able to capitalize onto something else to just redeem himself from the previous round. But this time, that battle, I was going to mention Dicey versus Mame, but it seems to be Dicey versus Food, and it pays off in dividends for the defender side, leaving only Nitro on his own with the Sheriff on a 4 versus 1. He does have the spike to work with, has no ultimate points, so he cannot go for any type of fakes, but he could definitely go for those kinds of headshots. So Crashy falls. It's a 3 versus 1, but it's still going to be a very difficult round to win here for Nitro. No weapons on the ground for him to try to pick up at the same time towards Heaven, but he's actually managed to sneak through A Heaven. He could go for a fake smoke and then walk over to the B side and plant.
Nitro has a nice little backstab, but only a Sheriff to work with. A little bit of time on the clock, 40 seconds. This smoke is going to make things a little bit awkward, though. Caboose might get caught off guard. It's all going to come down to timing, and Caboose just watches it patiently. Yeah, it was a little bit sketchy there for a second. I thought maybe Caboose would look back towards a ramp and get caught off guard, and then that's a rifle upgrade for Nitro. He has an opportunity to isolate the 1v1 in sight, but it doesn't come together.
Yeah.
Envy, they win 2 in a row finally.
Yeah, and sorry, as I was mentioning the game sense here, Buck, it's because I'm pretty sure you have one of his teammates already watching that A ramp, and then later on you have FNS, I think that's watching that A heaven. So with that smoke that came out towards the screen side, he's like, there is still a possibility that Nitro is going to walk through his own dark cover and look to backstab me. So he went for a fake jump peek just to make some noise and still looked back towards the screens and fought Nitro face to face to win that round. So it's still a decent eco for the 100 Thieves. With this gun round, they're looking to go for some type of aggressive plays towards the B side, and it's an ultimate towards heaven, but Caboose gets the first kill with the boom bot. Fully blinded as FNS. He eats a couple of paint shells, forced to fall back inside the site, but Caboose leans over, gets the first kill onto Steel, a second one onto Dicey to put the third onto the board. Make that a fourth, looking for the ace, as Nitro, again, unfortunately, on a 5 versus 1 this time, but Food stops him, and it's a 2-round lead for Envy.
Asuna flies into that B site, just completely flying out with the blast packs, lands right on a boombot. Unfortunate set of circumstances there for Asuna, countered out by his counterpart, his doppelganger, on the defense. It'll give Envy a 10-8 lead. They've been able to chain a few rounds in a row. The buy still came in that previous round from 100 Thieves. As a result, their money is not stellar, so it's going to be pistols and armor yet again. And an opportunity for Envy to put this one to bed, potentially. Waiting to find that 11th round to get themselves closer to number 12, at least guaranteeing tie point. 100 Thieves continues to fight, though. Don't count them out. These rounds have worked out well for both teams. These force buys thus far in the second half have not been easy for the rifle buyers on the other side. Mummy, a perfect example of what we were just saying. Taken down by Asuna, a great double peek coming out from Envy. Or from 100 Thieves, excuse me. Caboose, though, is waiting on the other side, and it's an execution onto Asuna. The nade lands in ropes, but it's a little bit further away, doesn't matter. Dicey gets concerned. There's the Nano Swarm right under Caboose's feet, and he has to bail out. That gives mid control over to 100 Thieves, and Steel is flying into the bottom of ropes to try and capitalize on that.
Yeah, even as he did that, he picked up the Phantom left behind too, so it's a nice way to add the pressure, upgrade to a weapon, put the chances on your side to try to work together as a team, which seems to be towards this B side. The thing is, on that B site, there's only 2 players and none of the ultimates that could be useful on this B side hold. But the rifles are still strong. Steel with the upgraded weapon makes it a 1 versus 1 inside the site, finally met up by his teammates as Food decides to concede the site and wait to play the retake with his other 2 teammates rotating down from spawn site and from heaven. They have a decent setup here for 100 Thieves, as Steel could have the element of surprise by playing Hell, and we're going to go for the full plant. At least that money rings in, so you're going to add more money into the next round. And it's planted at default, where actually he goes Shadow Steps on the top of the catwalk. This could be big right now, but unfortunately Caboose waits for him. And as they double up here towards the heaven side, Steel in a tight corner, playing the off angle, and Crashies takes him down. And it's going to be 11-8. 2 more rounds needed here for Envy to seal the deal in this series to make it 2-0.
Envy, just a few rounds away from closing out map number 2, and like you said, taking the series 2-0 before moving into that 3rd map, which could potentially be the final map. A little bit scary if you're a fan of 100 Thieves. That map, by the way, would be Ascent, and Envy would get to start on the defensive side. We'll see what the buy looks like. We will see that op in play for Mummy. No surprise there. On the flip side, rifles across the board, full armor as well coming in for all players. As the freeze time ticks down, here's an aggressive play coming out from Caboose. He flies in. The rocket is right on the money, but a quick trade is there. So well played from Steel to sit back, but they do lose Asuna, and that's a huge first loss for the attacking side as 100 Thieves is trying to gain control. And look at this. Food is in a great position. Do they know this? That's another 1-for-1. Nitro goes down. Dicey gets the trade. There's the Killjoy ult coming in, the lockdown. Breach is still on the B site. Mummy has to move out of position, but that's a quick shot coming down onto Dicey. Now, the ult does give them control of B, at least for the time being, as Crashies has backed out of sight. and surrendered it over. Neural Theft will give away player positions. Rolling Thunder coming out, and it's right on the money, but it creates a skeet shooting-like scenario for Mummy, and he can't connect with the op. It does come down to one. It's Steel, and not able to survive against FNS. It's 12 rounds now on the board for Envy. A great take towards B, but it was a back-and-forth battle early on that resulted in reduced numbers for both teams, and it favored Envy just slightly enough for them to find the win.
And that was a great way to use a Neural Theft there from FNS, allowing those two players to get spotted. The Rolling Thunder then from Crashies, and it kind of helped whoever was in the back of the site before versus Mummy, because he had pretty much an open shot. I think that was Hiko, right, towards that site. But you saw that when he dashed in by the pillar site, the way he controlled his frenzy, that's a tap with a frenzy of all guns to still get 2 headshots in a row versus his opponent, and it just made things more difficult when you still have the breach of life on your end with Crashies that enables this, because Hiko was fully flashed towards the back of the site. So Envy continuing their grounds, continuing to use their utility right, and continuing to play off each other with these communications that put them now at map point on this map of Split.
Two quick kills make it 3 coming up for 100 Thieves to kick things off in this round. Backs against the wall, and that's where they shine. Performing well with the pressure against them, they've managed to bring it down to Food and FNS. And those 2 players over on A, very likely not to do anything if that spike goes towards the B site. As you can see, they're going to try and grab control of the orb. They'll get it off just in time as the spike is now being planted over on the B site.
Spike planted.
And that should be the call. Just set up for exits and hope for the best, as 100 Thieves grab around and make this game stretch out just a little while longer. The possibility of overtime is still looming. And I feel like when we get split overtimes, it's always a real interesting game, because it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for a ridiculously long time. And I don't know. I feel like we don't always get that just because of how one-sided sometimes the halves on Split can be. But when we do, it always delivers with exciting moments.
I think just in general, from looking at the top-tier competition that we had throughout this tournament for the Nerd Street Gamers close qualifier, every time we had an overtime, it had at least a triple overtime on all the matches since we were in the close qualifier, right? Think about all the matches that we've casted throughout the other previous days from the amazing talent that we had. It's been a lot of these teams just fighting tooth and nail because it was one of those moments where it was do or die. You really had to win, especially into the quarterfinals, to make it into the top 4 to qualify for the First Strike finals in December. If you fall short, just like 4th to 8th, you have to go back through another qualifier. But at least the positive aspect is you don't have to go through the whole open gauntlet. You're already going straight into the close qualifiers of UMG in 2 weeks. And with that, though, it comes down to those 2 teams. These 2 teams that we're witnessing right now that Yinsu talked about. After 128 teams, down to 100 Thieves, and also to Envy. But Envy are at map point, looking to make this 2-0, and it starts off well as FNS runs around the map and gets 2 kills of his own. He's fully flashed, and he has a teammate to help him out. Somehow he's still alive, and finally gets dropped by Hiko. Hiko trying to run inside the site, crossfired by 2 players. 1 more to go. It's going to be Steel that gets dropped by Crashies, and we end the second half 13-9 for Envy.
Not entirely surprised to see Envy pick up the series, but 100 Thieves put up a pretty impressive performance, all things considered. Their defensive side wasn't exactly stellar, but it was decent enough, as we had a pretty close score coming into that second half. But we expected 100 Thieves to lose that map. We expected Envy to look really good, so the fact that they put up some rounds on both sides of the map shows promise. Now we move into a map, though, that 100 Thieves desperately needs to win. Otherwise, it's going to be a quick 3-0 moving in for Envy. And that first map didn't go so well for them either. So the hopes is that we'll start to see 100 Thieves wake up on a map that maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable on. I mean, we talked about it coming into that map. That's a map that Envy's played for a long time, and they feel very comfortable on Split.
Definitely. If you want to look at it, it was 13-2 on the first map, 13-9. So at least there's a positive thing there for 100 Thieves that they're starting to scramble and able to get more rounds, right? So hopefully, if you're a 100 Thieves fan, this is do or die for them going into that third map where they could hopefully bring it to a 4th map. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll find that out.